Hiya. I wanted to do a video on consciousness and how we lose our consciousness in relationships of any sort, and how we can retrieve that consciousness back to ourselves. So, right, so part of my job really, if you simplify it, is retrieving back consciousness that we've lost. And when I first started to see The Matrix, which was early this year in the spring, around about the spring, I noticed that The Matrix, when a trauma happens, the consciousness naturally splits, and then they'll place part of that consciousness in programs. And what I do is retrieve that consciousness out of the program. And what also happens inside this reality is the consciousness can split, and then that consciousness is siphoned off and placed in different areas of the universe, as discovering that there is a huge universal trade in consciousness. And how this affects us here is that very empathic people can actually feel parts of their consciousness, and which can be very, very confusing, because parts of their consciousness can be entrapped, enslaved, in pain, and they can actually feel that inside their physical bodies, and their physical bodies can actually suffer because of that. So what I do is retrieve that back so they don't suffer anymore. The third thing is that I'm noticing, which has always been in the work, but it's been really prevalent. I've been learning about this, but in the last week it's been like, right, okay, I've got to talk about it and tell you guys, is that we can give ourselves away in relationships. And do you know when you said, God, I give so much, or talk about energy vampires, or just a relationship comes unbalanced, we're trying to prop somebody up, or vice versa, we can give too much of ourselves away, and we literally give ourselves away, literally give parts of our consciousness. And it could be joy, it could be happiness, it could be motivation, it could be lots of things. Like I was speaking to a lovely lady last week, and her name was Rosita, she's Bulgaria, and she gave all her calmness to her dad, because her dad was very angry when she was a child, to the point now she's in her 30s, she didn't have any calmness. So it's like he had her consciousness wrapped in him. He was actually carrying her consciousness within him, and that caused her to lose her calmness. And also that consciousness was attached to his consciousness, so they were both attached to one another, and both, he might have benefited, but she wasn't in that case. What else? In relationships, when I look at relationships and people are really struggling with breakups, and can't get over that person and can't move on, and when I go in and look in, it's because that the other person they're trying to forget and walk away from is actually holding part of their consciousness. And it could be like the creativity, the joy, the love, everything. So it's retrieving that back, and then that person becomes more at peace and be able to move on from the breakup of the relationship. I had a lady, Zianda, in America. She could not feel. So she was in her 30s, and she hadn't been able to feel since she was a small child. She had no, she lacked emotion. There was a big lacking of emotion within her. And she knew mentally something was wrong, because she came to me last year, and I tried to help, and obviously I didn't have the abilities that I do this year, so I wasn't able to help her in the way that she needed. And anyway, she came back, saw some of the YouTube videos and came back to me. And so when I looked in this time, what I discovered, that part of her consciousness was being held by her dad, her feminine consciousness, her heart consciousness, a big chunk of that. And he took that when she was 5, unintentionally, obviously, because I don't think this is common knowledge. Well, it's not to me anyway, it might be for you guys, but he took part of her consciousness. And so I retrieved that back for her and gave that back. And I spoke to her a couple of days ago. And she was like, I'm feeling for the first time. But it could be stronger. So we need to work more on it. But yeah, just the fact that she's having emotions is amazing. That scenario also happened to me. And I don't feel sorry for me, but because when I looked in, it was like I wanted it to happen so I could understand and really empathize with that people that go through this, because it's, you know, if someone comes to you and go, oh, I don't have any emotion, I don't feel, I don't have any empathy for anybody, I don't, you know, you just think, God, you're a psycho, you know, because that's, you know, you've got, obviously there's issues with you, but actually it's not the case. So what happened to me was somebody who I really, really love verbally attacked me, but went for the really like vulnerable parts of me, and it was really shocking and really came out of the blue. I wasn't expecting it. I wasn't prepared for it. And it was really uncalled for. It wasn't. Anyway, it was the next couple of nighs. I woke up the day later or 2 days later, and literally it was like someone turned off a tap like that. I just could not feel. It was like my heart was encaged. I could feel like a hole in my heart. And I literally, the love that I had for my partner had just gone, even though he had nothing to do with it. The love for life, the love for my work had just gone. To the point that I really just did not give a shit if I died. Like someone could have just killed me and I'm like, yeah, whatever. There was just no passion for life there at all. And mentally I knew that there was something very wrong. Like, and it was like, it was kind of weird because there was less fear in my life because I was, you know, because all the, you know, there was less fear. That was because there was, I suppose, what makes us, like in relationships and stuff, it makes us vulnerable, and that brings around fear. And so there was less fear, but I still I'd rather have the feeling and have the fear with it. Anyway, so I was speaking to my partner about this, and what we discovered is that when I was verbally attacked, the heart consciousness basically separated, went into like fragments, and I was like, fuck, I'm gonna get that back. And so I, with intention, and started to bring it back, and obviously the love, my partner helped because he loves me, and then it all started to come back, and it wasn't like where before it like clicked and it was off. It just like a gradual, to the point that I'm crying now at really kind gestures and lovely things, and I'm like really feel, and when I really connect with people, I was working on a little girl and I'm bawling because and it was like, yes, because I just know how precious this is. You know, our feelings are. It's just amazing, and it's our guidance, and it's what makes us feel alive. You know, and to not have that, and I suspect there's many people who live their lives without emotion, without being able to feel, without and then just not giving a shit about life, you know, and thinking they're very weird, and may actually go and see psychiatrists and stuff, and then they get diagnosed with mental health disorders and stuff like that, and actually it's that's not the case. And you can retrieve that energy back. You know, everyone can feel, everyone can have the passion for life and feel for others and have empathy and everything like that. And if you don't, you can retrieve that back. So with how I did me and how I help others, obviously I go to the person that's got that consciousness, but you know, you can do this yourself. You can go into a meditative state and ask for that consciousness to come back. And also all the consciousness that you hold that does not belong to you, ask for it to leave, you know, because we hold it in our, and this can be an issue, especially with people who've, what I've also been dealing with, that people have been sexually abused and stuff, and they hold the abuser's consciousness in their consciousness. So it's like they can't get rid of them, and their energy's in them. You know, in the abuser's energy's in their consciousness, so they can like feel them and connect with them, even though they haven't seen them for years and stuff like that. And you know, and that stuff you don't need to get rid of. So go into a meditative state, have the intention of getting rid of all the consciousness that doesn't belong to you, and ask for all the consciousness that, I mean, I don't know how I'm sure that will work, because it's all intention. And if you have problems, then make an appointment. But I can't see why you don't need the abilities that I do, just the intention. Okay, I'll share that with you now. Thanks for listening, me rambling, and enjoy the rest of your day. Okay, you take care. Bye-bye.